everyone, these are notes 1.1, which are on adding and subtracting signed numbers. And what we mean by signed numbers are numbers that have positives and negatives in them. And really quickly, I just want to say that it is not required of you to write these notes down at this point in time. But if you do write the notes down either on a piece of paper and take a picture of it, or in a Google Doc and just send me the Google Doc, I will give you a bonus point, because if you actually write stuff down as you're learning it, it actually helps you to learn things better. So I strongly suggest that you write things down as you're watching here. And again, if you do, I'll give you a bonus point. One last note though, really quickly, is that there are going to be times where I am going to be writing pretty fast in the video. And if you plan to write stuff down, just pause the video, and all you have to do is just write down whatever you need at your own pace and then press play when you're ready to go. And that's the beauty of this video, is that it's still me as your teacher teaching you, but you are in full control. You can pause, you can rewind and rewatch things to help you make sure that you understand what's going on, okay? As opposed to learning it in a Google Meet where you don't have control over me. You can't pause me, you can't rewind me. So the first thing I want to do is write numbers in a way that makes sense. In the past, you may have been told to write your numbers that you're trying to figure out using double signs, but I actually don't suggest doing that now that we're getting into high school math. So I'm going to read from here. We want to get out of the habit of having any double signs and allow them to be single signs. We will switch our double signs to a single addition sign only if we see the same signs next to each other, and they have to be right next to each other. These double signs have to be next to each other. And we will switch it to subtraction if we have different signs. And I'll show you what I mean by that in these examples. So if you see here in our first example, we have 2 plus -5. Now, we have a double sign here. This plus and negative is our double sign. There are 2 signs right next to each other, and they happen to be different signs. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this plus and minus into subtraction, okay? So this will become 2, and then instead of plus and negative, this plus and negative just becomes a minus sign. So it becomes 2 minus 5, and now we've gone to a single sign. So this right here is what we get when we switch it from a double sign to a single sign. We're going to talk later on about how to actually evaluate and get these answers, but for right now, I just want to get the practice on how to do this, okay? So this next one says 8 plus -4, and that -4 is in brackets, but it's still, our signs are still right next to each other. Even though we have brackets there, that doesn't matter. So we still have different signs, which means that we're going to change this into subtraction. So this will become, instead of 8 plus -4, it will just become a minus. So it becomes 8 minus 4. So for this one right here, it says 6 minus -10. And we don't have brackets, and it doesn't matter, but we do have double signs here. So we've got a minus and negative, and this time they're the same sign, so we're going to want to switch this to addition. So this will become 6, and then instead of minus and negative, because they're the same sign, we're going to change it to plus. And in the past, you might have been told to change it to plus a positive, which is fine, but we still would have double signs there. So we just leave it as just a single plus sign, and it's plus 10, and we're good to go for changing this into a single sign. And then for this one right here, it's the same idea, except we have brackets here, and I'm showing you all the different ways you might see it so that there's no confusion, but we still have double signs right next to each other. So this minus and negative is another example where we have the same sign, so it turns into a plus right here. So this should be plus. So this will say 11 plus 3. All right. Now there are a couple ones that you need to watch out for. So this right here, this -6 minus 8, we don't have any double signs because the minus sign and the negative sign are not right next to each other. You have this 6 in between. So even though it might look like you have double signs, you don't, because they have to be right next to each other. The signs cannot have numbers in between them. So for this, we don't have to do any changing. But in this one, we have -5 or -5 minus -6. So here we do have double signs next to each other right here. So even though we see something very similar to what we have here, in this example up here, the minus and the negative were not right next to each other. But in this example up here, the minus and the negative were right next to each other. So essentially, this negative here and this negative here have no effect on whether or not you have to change your signs at all. And when you have minus and negative, it turns into a positive. So this becomes -5 plus, with just a single sign, plus 6. All right. All right. So now we are actually going to figure out how to find out what these answers are. So I'm going to show you two strategies. And the first strategy that I'm going to show you guys is using the number line. If you're a visual person, this might help you out. So the first thing that we want to do is always get rid of any double signs. Okay. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. And then if the number is positive, we move to the right. And if the number is negative, we move to the left. So let me show for you exactly what I mean by that right now. So here, the first thing we want to do again is always get rid of any double signs. But when I look here, I don't have any double signs, so I don't need to get rid of it. So for our rewrite, there is no rewrite that's necessary. Okay, so now on our number line, I'm going to put 0 here. I just put a bunch of tick marks right here, and I'm just going to label these numbers. So anything to the right of 0 is going to be a positive integer, and anything to the left of 0 is going to be a negative integer. So what this is saying right here is to start at 8. So I'm going to start right here at 8. And then what this is saying right here is to move left 10 times. How do I know that it is left? Because this right here has a minus sign in front of that 10. So I'm going to start again, like they said, we said to start at 8. So I'm going to start at 8, and then I'm going to move 10 times to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I end up here at -2. So now I can say that my answer of 8 minus 10 is equal to -2. And this is my final answer here. Okay. All right. So now let's do it for this next example, -7 plus -3. So the first thing I need to do is I have to do my rewrite, right? It says right here, always get rid of any double signs. So if I look at this example here, I have plus a negative, which is not allowed. I've got double signs. It's not that it's not allowed, but it just makes things way more complicated, okay? When you have plus a negative, this becomes a minus. So what this is saying is I'm going to take -7 and I'm going to subtract 3 from that -7. So let's talk about what this is saying on the number line. And if you noticed, I'm putting the 0 farther to the right because I have a feeling that I'm going to be dealing with more negatives because both of my numbers here are negative, okay? And sometimes you might have to extend your number line in both directions, and you'll know more as you're working on the problem, okay? So again, here, this -7 is telling us that we are going to start at this -7. So here, I'm going to start at -7, and because this is a -3, the minus tells us to move to the left, and we're going to move 3 units to the left. So let's count this, 1, 2, 3, and I end up at -10. So now I can say -7 minus 3 is equal to -10, and I'm good to go for this right here. All right, and then there was a part C, but I'm actually going to skip that for right now, and I just want to look at part D. So part D says -3 minus -9. And again, the first thing I want to do is get rid of any double signs that I could possibly see here. So this minus and negative right here are double signs because I see them right next to each other. So I'm going to rewrite this as -3, and then here this minus and negative shows us that we have the same sign, so they're going to turn into a plus sign. So I'm going to say -3 plus, and then I'll just copy down this 9 that we see here. So let's go ahead and do this on the number line. And let's be a little bit strategic as we are doing this. So we know that we have to start at -3, and this plus sign tells us that this time we're moving to the right 9 times. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just show it on my number line right here. So I'm going to start at -3, and I know that that's where I put my starting point right here. And then I'm going to move to the right 9 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So here, I end up at 6 right here. So this answer here is going to give me 6. Now, another option for figuring this out is using the scoreboard strategy. So our scoreboard strategy is a strategy that you may not have seen, but I have generally found that students really enjoy this strategy. So as always, the first thing that we want to do is get rid of any double signs. And then we're going to literally create a scoreboard with 2 teams. There's going to be a team positive and a team negative. And then we're going to see who should win the game and by how much. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that in our example here. So these are the same examples that we use the number line for, but I'm just showing you how to do this using the scoreboard as well. So we are going to rewrite this if we have to get rid of any double signs. Fortunately, we don't have any double signs, so our rewrite is not necessary. So this is what I mean by doing a scoreboard. So I'm literally going to make a scoreboard right here, and I'm just moving it over because I'm running out of room for the problem below this one. And I'm going to write 8 minus 10 right on top here so we know that this is the scoreboard that we're doing. And we have team positive and team negative. I like to put team positive on the right side and team negative on the left side because that's how it is on the number line. So first thing we're going to do is take a look at our first number, which is 8. 8 is positive, so we know that team positive won 8 points. So under team positive, we can say 8 points. They get those 8 points. Now here, be really careful. This 10 right here is going to go under team negative because this minus sign is connected to that 10. This 8 has an invisible positive sign in front of it, so we are going to put it under team positive. And this is why we don't want double signs, because with the double signs, it's going to be confusing. What team do I put it under? But with a single sign, you know exactly where to put it. So team negative gets those 10 points. So as I'm looking at the scoreboard, I can see, oh, team negative got 10 points, team positive got 8 points. So that tells me that team negative won the game. Yay, team negative, but they won the game by 2 points. So we can say here that 8 minus 10 is equal to, and we have to say -2 because team negative is the one that won. Let's look at our next example. So let's do our rewriting first. So to rewrite this, I see here that I have some double signs. So I have plus and negative, and I don't want plus and negative. So I'm going to change that into, sorry, I'm just going to switch colors here. I'm going to change that into a minus sign. So when I rewrite this, this is going to say -7 minus 3. Now pay really close attention to how we are going to do the scoreboard here. So we've got team negative and team positive. For the 7, I look and see what the sign is that came before it, and it tells me that it is a -7. So I'm going to put 7 under team negative. Now for 3, there's a minus sign that came before that. So that means the 3 will also go under team negative. And sometimes you can have 2 numbers under the same sign, okay? And that's totally allowed. So looking at this here, we can say team negative won, but team negative won by 10 points. And because team negative won by 10 points, then my answer is going to be equal to -10. And let's put a box around this one too. All right, in our next example, we have 5.7 minus -4.1. So here we still have a double sign. This minus and negative we don't like. We're going to change this into a positive or a plus sign. So here we're going to rewrite this as 5.7 plus 4.1. Now don't let the decimals scare you, okay? So for this one right here, we've got team negative and team positive. Now for 5.7 here, this 5.7 has no sign in front of it. right? So I can assume automatically that it's going to be a positive. So team positive won 5.7 points. And then here, 4.1 has a plus sign in front of it. So team positive gets that 4.1 as well. So because team positive won 5.7 and 4.1 points, we can automatically say team positive wins. But by how much? Well, we have to add these two numbers together. So 7 plus 1 is 8, 5 plus 4 is 9, and so it's 9.8 because our decimals were lined up nicely. So we can say team positive wins by 9.8 points. So because team positive wins by 9.8 points, our answer here is equal to 9.8, positive 9.8. Okay, and then in our last example, it's -3 minus -9. And I'm going to just cover this other stuff up here because I feel like this might get a little bit overwhelming. And the first thing that we need to do here is get rid of this minus and negative. We've got double signs, so minus and negative will turn into a positive here. So if I were to rewrite this, it would say, now be careful, this negative in front of the 3 does not get touched at all when we change this. It has nothing to do with changing those signs. So it becomes -3 plus, and then I just have a 9. Okay, so now let's talk about this. We've got team negative and we've got team positive. So we've got -3 plus 9. So we know that this 3 right here should go under team negative because it has a negative or a minus sign in front of it. And we know that this 9 should go under team positive because it has a plus sign in front of it. So now here I can see, oh, team positive won, but team positive did not win by 9 points, because if team positive got 9 points and team negative got 3 points, then team positive is only winning by 6 points because you have to take away these 3 points right here that team negative had earned for themselves. So team positive won by 6 points. So since team positive won and it was by 6 points, then we can say that our final answer here is going to be +6 or just 6. All right. Let me know if you have any questions on this video. I'm just going to put my email here. So that way, if you want to reach out and ask any questions, please feel free to do so. And good luck. See you in our next segment.